Welcome to Becoming Eva.
We are back, y'all. We are back. Welcome to our fourth and final episode as we celebrate love, the month of love. So we close it out with love and legacy. We've talked about how it starts from dating to newlyweds to marriage, love and kids, and love and marriage. And now we've got to talk about love and legacy because we're trying to make it last forever, y'all. We're trying to.
Yes.
So we had to take some notes. We had to call in some OGs. I'm gonna call y'all the OGs for the week, okay?
Wow.
Just because y'all,
that, yeah.
the O is original, okay? That's what the O stands for, okay? Original. Because y'all know the ins and outs, okay? So we really had to call in some people that could give us some wisdom. And so, I want to introduce a couple that's very near and dear to me and Chris's heart, Mark and Meliza Fender. We're so grateful to have you.
Hey there.
Hey.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So we are looking forward to learning from you both today. So, but before we jump in, how's everyone doing? How's your week been? How things going?
My week has been great. I know last week I was talking to Becoming Eva about the test that I had to take. And so I got the results back last night. I passed. So I was so excited because it was super, super hard. Trying to relearn chemistry and physics and all that good stuff. So I passed.
Congratulations. I had no doubt because you're brilliant, but I know it was hard just trying to retain all that information. Mark and Meliza, Latoya is a phenomenal teacher. She actually teaches in the areas of science, which I immediately tap out of. So she had to prep for physics and chemistry. Did I miss anything? What else were those the areas you were prepping for?
Those were the areas.
Whew. Oh. Make my head hurt thinking about it. So congratulations. Mark and Meliza, how's your week been? How are y'all doing?
It's been a good week, balancing, the kids, or I should say our teenage son, work, us. But it's been a good week.
Yeah, it's a good week. Yeah, I was okay this week.
Yeah, he was well behaved this week.
It's a good week. It's all right.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Oh, my week started out pretty mellow, and then by the time we got to Wednesday and Thursday, I was like, okay, y'all, it's a lot going on. So, but it was a good busy. I had family in town, so it's always good to spend time with them. And then, just a lot of deadlines, a lot of things that needed to be done at the, by the end of the week. I feel like everybody realizes come Wednesday, like, oh, it's almost Friday, so I got to get it done. So you kind of get flooded with stuff. But yeah, it was a good week. So. Good. All right, let's dive into what's trending. So there are a couple current events that I want us to chime in on, and we got some highs and some lows. What we're gonna start serious, and then we're gonna move out to the not so serious. But we gotta deal with the state of our country. Okay, for those of you that may or may not know, U.S. has deployed forces in response to Putin, who is the Prime Minister of Russia, and some steps that he's taken as it relates to Ukraine. So, yeah, it's a lot of rhetoric out there. I'll be the first to tell you, I'm not big on politics. I am like, not the that's not my area of expertise, I should say. But I know this is major, and this has some ramifications based on whatever decisions the U.S. makes as to how they get involved with the situation. So, of course, the United States is planning to get involved because of their connection to NATO and wanting to be aligned with the other countries that are in that organization. But I'm, always hearing conversation about why the U.S. always got to get involved. What's, is this our problem? So really want some dialogue around, do you all think that the U.S. should get involved with what's going on between Russia and Ukraine?
So first of all, I would say the news source that you read, that you step into, right, where you get your information from is very important because of the angle that we come from in the US. right? So make sure that the news source, it's a trustworthy news source that you're getting the information from. Don't believe everything you see, on TV. And I would say that because we are a part of NATO, that we have no choice but to step in. But to what extent? Because obviously we have, families now that are on the edge of their seats wondering if their loved ones are going to get sent there, and it's already happened. They're there. It's just, one instruction to move forward, right? Yeah. So, we're a part of NATO. So we've basically signed up to say that we're there to back it. Not that I agree with that, but we're in, so we're in.
Yes,
I understand.
That's what I was gonna say too. Yeah. Like, they're our allies, so I don't think we have a choice.
Right,
we have to.
Yeah. That's exactly how I feel. And we have a responsibility, to be peacekeepers, to help, to really be peacekeepers, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's why the U.S. forces have been deployed, to really show that we don't want Russia to continue to move across, and really, I think that's the intent here, is just really to ensure that we are unified in our partnership with our NATO partners to kind of keep the peace.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, and it's, there's definitely different conversation around, does it require war in order to keep peace and things of that nature, which we could, probably dialogue about, much longer. But I definitely want to take time to solicit prayers for all parties involved, from Ukraine to Russia, to Putin, to United States, like all of it, really solicit prayers for the situation, because we need God's sovereignty and his will to reign and rule over this entire situation, and just be reminded that, he's in control regardless of what we see, what we know, and what decisions are made. But praying that, the powers that be, if you will, are sensitive and yielded to godly counsel during this time.
For sure.
I agree.
For sure.
A lot involved. So pray, y'all. Pray for these countries, and just pray for the state of the situation, please. So we'll try to keep everyone updated as things progress. But like I said, this area is a little foreign for me. No pun intended. No pun intended. Okay. So next up, President Biden. He actually has nominated. I just wanted to slide this in 1 second, Toya, but he actually, and this is fresh off the press. But President Biden actually recently nominated the first African-American female Supreme Court Justice judge. And so Ms. Ketanji Brown Jackson, she has been nominated, and I say nominated because we still got some steps to go, but it literally took, 232 years? I think that's how long the Supreme Court Justice has been in existence. I'm checking my notes here to make sure. But it's been a long time coming, needless to say. And so had to shout out the fact that she's even been nominated. Because that is huge. So what are you all's thoughts on that?
Just to see those two strong Black women standing by the side of the President of the United States was incredible yesterday. And then just the fact that the first words out of her mouth was about her faith. And so it was an incredible moment. Yeah.
That is awesome. So we're gonna keep our eyes on this one. We got to close the deal, y'all. We got to get this one on through.
Yeah.
Mark, did you have anything you wanted to share?
No, I concur with my wife. It is just to see that, and I know there's a number of steps to be taken, but just to see her and the way that she articulated where she came from and why she is qualified to be here was really impressive. Yeah. And I just, when we're given a platform, she spoke to where she came from. She spoke about her faith. She spoke about the legacy that she set in.
Yes.
And really it's for others. She really did not have an awful lot of
herself.
She didn't point to herself.
Yeah.
She pointed to where she came from and the platform and those that made it possible for her to be here. So that was incredible. Yeah.
How awesome is that? I got to do my research. Like I said, this is not my area, but I need to read up more on this woman, because everything I've heard so far has been like phenomenal, definitely above board. So I'm really excited about the prospect. Okay, Adrian said my soror. Okay, Delta say my theta. Okay, all right, in the building. Good to know. Good to know. But yeah, I got to read up more on her. But I'm just excited about the prospect and the fact that there's even a conversation around it, because it has taken a while to get here.
It's been a while, right?
Yes, and I'm so excited that my children get to grow up in this generation where they get to see all these Black women in positions of power and all the possibilities of their future. It's just awesome, because when we were growing up, I didn't see a lot of like Black female role models in those types of positions. So it's just really awesome to experience and see.
They need to see it so they know they can be it. And so this is a great time for your children to be coming up.
Yes.
Loved it. All right, let's move on to Mr. Neo, R&B pop sensation Neo. He had to weigh in. I say had to because he felt the need to weigh in on women taking responsibility for explicit lyrics. So he recently did an interview, and basically he was saying women that endorse music with explicit lyrics help perpetuate music with explicit lyrics. So, I mean, I get where he's coming from. If someone's calling you the B word and you nodding your head to it, then it basically looks like you're in agreement with it. So I can understand where he's coming from there, but I don't know. I just felt like a comment like that should probably come from someone else. I don't know. This is just Maya talking. I feel like Neil got his own track record he need to deal with as it relates to women in his life. So I'll just leave it at that. But then also too, just the fact that it's a Black man saying this. Now, I can't necessarily say that his lyrics in particular have been explicit. I mean, I think he's a phenomenal artist, a phenomenal songwriter. And in a lot of cases, I think he's empowered women through his music. But at the same time, I feel like this message, while I may agree with certain aspects of it, should come from somebody else. But that's just me. Like I said, that's my weighing in. So what do you all think, though, about Neo saying women should take responsibility for supporting or helping to perpetuate music with explicit lyrics?
I agree with him. I'm really not into what I see out there now. I see them, they're powerful women, but the language, it doesn't have to be that way. They can be powerful women without using the language that they use. And so, yeah, I 100% support what you said.
Should it have come from him?
What I know about him, I don't see him as, like Maya said, I don't know about his private life, right? I don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but why not?
And my comment to Nia would be, well, what about the men and their explicit lyrics about women, or even about men and the explicit lyrics that they use? Yeah. Why does he feel like it's I feel like sometimes it's a double standard for some things. Like they expect women to always go the extra mile, go above and beyond. And it's like, what about the men? Because men use a lot of explicit lyrics too.
Yeah.
When they're talking about women.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think what my wife's saying, though, it applies to both, right?
Yeah. They shouldn't be using that.
Yeah.
As long as the women, and it maybe the women just thought, well, they do it, why can't I?
Yeah. So I don't know. I used to say, like, why would I pay for someone to cuss at me? I can,
Good point.
That's true.
Very good point.
Yeah.
So I agree. I think he definitely started a great conversation. I feel like there should be some other people added to it. And to your point, Latoya, like a level playing field as far as holding everyone accountable, because if we're going to change anything, it can't just be the consumers. It has to be the people that are creating the music as well. So we'll see. And then I'm just going to close out on something a little light, but word on the street. Actually, not word on the street. It's official. There's a 30-year Martin reunion that's going to be happening soon. And so, my husband is known for walking around the house and randomly just reciting lines from Martin, like randomly. And so, like, this is a classic here. If y'all don't know, you ask somebody, this is a classic for anybody listening, because Martin is it's one for the books. And so there's been talks over the, especially with all the reboots, everybody has wanted Martin to be a reboot, but they're like, no, we can't do it without Tommy Michael Ford, who passed away about 6 years ago. And so but it's a blessing, first of all, that everyone else is reconciled and back together, because near the end of the show there were disjointed relationships and all kinds of stuff, and then Martin had his own journey with his health and just all kinds of stuff with that. So it's a blessing to see them all, the remaining members, come back together, members of the cast, even if it is just for a reunion special. But I had to weigh in on this and get you all's thoughts. Do we have any Martin fans here? Like
30 years though. I mean,
it seems too long.
This seems like it was. I don't know. It was that.
Time flies.
Time flies, I guess.
Well, I'm all for it, because Martin was hilarious to me, and I don't know if you have been recently watching the Bel Air, which is a spinoff from. It is so good. I'm enjoying it. But the 30-year Martin reunion seems like it'll be pretty good too.
Okay, that's what's up.
You're gonna watch it?
So we'll check it out.
Okay, cool.
All right. Anything else on what's trending before we dive into today's topic? All right. Well, thank y'all for weighing in. I know we had a lot to talk about, and we kind of ran the gamut from politics to entertainment. So thank y'all for joining in on the conversation, Mark and Meliza. We appreciate it. So on to you. We really want to hear about your story. So we have these questions broken up into 2 segments. We're going to talk about how it started first, and then we're going to go into how it's going. So how it started, like, I really want to know. I've heard bits and pieces, but I want the full story here on how you two met.
You want the real story.
You want the real story. So if you want the real story, you probably want to hear it from me.
Wait. Hold up. So it's interesting. I when you said, hey, February is a month of love, it just so happens that February, right? So, I was born on St. Valentine's Day. We were married on St. Valentine's Day. And what's the other thing? Oh, we celebrated 28
years of marriage on Valentine's Day.
So it's kind of cool.
Which is his birthday.
Yeah.
Aw, congratulations.
She who pursues a good thing, that's right.
It doesn't say that.
It doesn't say that. You didn't pursue me? No.
So we met through a mutual friend,
a
friend of Mark's for many years, like throughout high school, was friends with me. And so we just met through a mutual friend. Actually, Mark's friend would hang out with me and my friends, and we would travel all around London to different house parties.
Oh yeah.
With this, he was like our bodyguard.
Who was? Keith, yeah.
And so, and that's how we met. That's how we met. He was a good friend, and we could be all over London all weekend.
Because when she say we, she meant all her sisters, which were kind of rough. They're like, there's like all her sisters, and then I would be my friend. But really, how we met was on the train going to work, right? After that,
and then we would bump into each other in the mornings, getting on the tube in London to go to work, and I'd be reading my book.
She had no conversation for me
and pretend that I really did.
Like,
So after you guys met, how long did you guys date after meeting?
So Go ahead.
Yeah, we actually knew each other for 5 years before we actually got married. So I think after a year we got engaged.
We did get engaged.
After a year.
Okay.
And then, we were in a relationship. We had our first son. And then we got married.
We had our first son, and the second son was on the way. Yeah. So, that start was, a
rough start.
It was a rough start.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, it was. So yeah.
So how did you view marriage growing up as children?
Yeah.
Like, what were your views on it?
Yeah. I'll talk from my perspective. My wife will kind of speak from her perspective, and that's probably why we're so passionate about marriage. For me, marriage wasn't a thing. Actually, my father had a number of children, never married the mother of the children, and so I have 4 brothers and 1 sister, and we got different mothers. And actually my father just like was never ever committed. So I never saw what marriage looked like, what should look like. That wasn't a part of my, my well-being or my wife.
And then for me, I have 6 brothers and sisters, same mom and dad. But my father had many affairs. And so I had siblings outside of, my 6 tight-knit siblings. So for me, marriage, it was just something I rejected. I didn't want. I didn't want to be. I saw a lot of hurt. I saw lack of commitment.
Yeah.
And so for me, marriage was really not an option.
Yeah. So when we got married, though, and this before we got saved, when we got married, we decided the decision really was about having our children see just one set of parents, right? That was at the time there was not a covenant; it was a commitment that we were making to one another. And so we just felt that we would change the legacy, right? We would break kind of what we had seen, the pattern of what we've seen in the past, and do something different.
Wow, that's beautiful. So many people have those types of experiences where they don't really have like a good role model of what marriage is growing up.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because like their parents were in an unhappy marriage, or they weren't married at all, or like you were saying, having affairs outside of your marriage. So what was like, I guess, how did you guys learn how to have a healthy marriage, since you didn't really have a good like role model of what it looks like?
I would say that we both knew what we didn't want.
Yeah.
That was first and foremost. And then when Mark and I gave our life to Christ, we were one of the youngest couples in this small church of maybe 100 people.
Yeah.
And as our small group that we got into had many couples, different ages. We had people in their 70s and 80s. And then we had younger couples that were in their 30s, 40s, and we were in our 20s.
Yeah.
And we had 2 little ones. And just watching them model out what it was supposed to look like and showing us in God's word what it was supposed to look like is what really changed our path and what we wanted our marriage to look like. So it was kind of like, this is the pathway. And we had some incredible people that poured into us.
Just simple things. We would complain about one another, and I remember, we're one couple, again, the Mafoods, they're in their 70s, they had to be, right? But I was complaining, I'm like, she doesn't do this, and she would say, he doesn't do that. And they would just say, you've just got to love him. You just got to love her.
And we would be like, what?
What does that mean? I mean, that's not practical, but yeah, it is
we
practical.
Understand that now.
Yeah, we understand that now. That you got to love him, you got to love her, and yeah, that's kind of how it started. I think we have a tendency to gravitate towards our own age group, right? Our own socioeconomic group, and so I don't know if you necessarily learn that way what marriage should look like, right?
So we're thankful that we were in a group. I mean, it was just a completely diverse makeup of people.
Oh yeah, just
ages, colors, and that's how we learned.
Yeah.
Through them modeling out what it's supposed to look like and getting into God's word with them. So
that's a beautiful, beautiful marriage journey, love story. It gives people hope. Like, even if you didn't have a role model growing up, letting you know how a healthy marriage should look like, there's still hope out there. You got to get around other people that have healthy marriages and can pour into your lives and give you wisdom on what marriage is supposed to look like. So that is a beautiful story. So thank you all so much for being so transparent and sharing your marriage journey with us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, Latoya, you said like transparent. I think it's important to be in those circles where there is authenticity, right? And when there is some vulnerability. There's an awful lot of marriages that are surface, like a facade, right? You project one way and you kind of dig a little bit deeper, and you find that there is just there's cracks and there's separation and there's disunity and diverging vision, right? Division. And so
I would say even more so because of social media.
Yeah, that too.
Right? Social media is great, but when we can post a photo of us, we look like we
always do. We always
complete bliss, right? Like, and you just don't know what's going on behind the scenes, right?
Right. That's so very true. So what does legacy mean to you guys when it comes to marriage?
Say it again. You said, what did
legacy mean?
What does legacy mean to you all?
So legacy to us is huge, right? We just felt, and I think I talked a little bit about it at the beginning, is that we just feel that as goes our marriage, right? Our marriage really isn't, oftentimes, you think it's about us, but it's really, it's another area that God kind of wants to reflect. I mean, he says it's his church, right? It should reflect the love of his church. And we just felt when we changed that, when we made our marriage about him, when we understood the covenant of marriage, the legacy is our children's children's children would look to marriage and look to, this model and say, we want that. Your that's the legacy of, and that's the foundation, right? And so as goes your marriage, and as it reflects God, right, is as to how marriage is. And the thing that before our kids were born, right, even when they were born, we prayed that they would meet women that loved God more than they loved him or her,
So I just want to share that in that small group that we had for that season, I remember someone, I think it was one of the Mafoods had shared with me that it begins now. You need to go into their room when they're sleeping and you need to pray over them for their spouse that's going to come alongside them later in life. Pray that God would protect her and keep her for this union, right? And so, I mean, they were probably, I don't know, 3 and 5, and I really didn't understand it, but it was like, what you got to lose. And then as I grew in Christ, it was like, oh my gosh, by revelation, it's like, oh my gosh, I get it. And just continue to pray over them about who God would bring in the future for each one of my boys. And you know what? He did it.
Yeah.
he did it. He brought them incredible women of God. And he kept them as incredible men of God. And so he answered my prayers. He answered our prayers.
You want to perpetuate marriage, right? And someone told me like one time, and I just believe it so to be true, is that what we do in moderation, our children will do in excess. They will pray. If you pray in moderation and they see that, we pray that they will pray in excess. If you love and model love for your spouse in moderation or to the degree that you can, they will do that in excess. And that's what we want as far as a legacy to left behind.
But to tag onto that, the things that you don't want them to do, they also model that.
Right.
So if there's cussing and you do that in moderation, and you just then they're going to do that in excess, right? Mom and dad did it.
If there's emasculation, they'll model that.
Yeah.
If there's disrespect, they'll model that.
So and you know, we're not perfect.
Yeah.
Maya, you have been in that household.
We were laughing about the Thanksgiving that you came.
You were there for Thanksgiving dinner once, and
I was.
You saw
with one of the future wives.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you know what it looks like.
It's real.
It's
marriage
real.
is real, right? It's work.
Yeah.
So that's a long.
That was a long
way from legacy.
Response from legacy, but you know.
That's beautiful, guys. Thank you guys so much. So let's transition a little bit into how it's going. So you've shared with us that you all have 2 sons, correct? 2 sons.
We got 3 boys.
We have
3.
So we got 3 boys.
We have 2 that are grown
and married,
and then we have a high schooler. He's a junior who lives here at home. So yeah.
Oh, okay. So how did life change as your children grew into adulthood or into the teenage years? So how did life change, like in your marriage?
Yeah. In our marriage, I think it was different. The first 2 were kind of together. There was like a couple years between them, and then there's 11 years to the high schooler. So I think in the first 2, we were younger and kind of trying to figure out who we were together. And so there was a lot of learning. I think there's probably more learning than how to be a parent, how to be parents and love one another and maintain connection throughout that. And there's an awful lot of transitions in that, right? Yes. We moved and maybe the years between elementary, middle, high, college, dating, marriage, they're incredible, right? And like our role as parents changed. But even as we recognize that, and my wife said it, like, I don't ever want to be, and you hear this, it's like cliche, we don't ever be like the kids are gone and we don't know
who we are to one another.
So we told the kids from day one, I said, hey man, I love you, but man, that what are you, if you're number 1 child, then you're probably not, you're number 3 in my house. I mean, number 3 in my love, right? And I love you, but like, let's just get this straight. She comes first, and you guys are like, way down on the food chain.
Yeah, they always understood.
They always knew that.
Yeah.
And we told them, and we was pretty open. Don't be busting through my bedroom door, because that's our room, and you might get shocked. I mean, so we told them. Surprise! I mean, so. But we maintain that our relationship. We still laugh at the most crazy stuff. We're friends. My wife just said we are friends with benefits.
We're married. No, we're married friends
with benefits. Yeah, that's key.
Yeah,
that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Did you answer?
I love it.
You did, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I heard you guys are grandparents.
We have an 8-month-old grandson,
George Lewis.
His name is George Lewis Fender, and he is incredible. And I know all grandparents say that, but he really is. He is. You know what's incredible to me? We talked about legacy. To see Mark with George, and just the love that he has for George. It's my baby's baby.
Yeah, there's something about, if you think, I mean, I remember vividly holding all of my kids, right? But if I talk about this one, Aaron, I remember holding Aaron in my hands. And so now then when I look down at George in my hands, I am thinking, wow, he is my son's son. And for me, it's just it's amazing. It really is an incredible experience. And I like my son, Aaron, but my grandson.
This is a whole different,
it's a different kind of level. I mean, you guys are okay, but this guy, this guy here, it is an experience.
It's a whole nother level of love.
Yeah, I feel like I stepped over into some different place where you can, and I'll never be able to fathom God's love for me, for you, right, for us. But just that legacy, that grandchild holding him in my hands is, it's incredible. Yeah. And like, so even I'm pretty measured, right? Anyone that knows me, my kids will laugh too. Like I'm pretty even keeled, but I guess when I see him,
that goes out the window.
So how did life change once you all became grandparents? Because, you still have a teenage son at your house too. So how did life change?
You know what?
I don't know if it's changed for us.
I don't know if it's changed for us. I think as grandparents, I think I wait to be asked. Yeah. There's so much that we know that we could share, but it's like if they don't ask you, then they don't ask you, right?
Right.
So sometimes I have to stop myself, like, oh no, and then it's like, she didn't ask you, like back away, but she does ask. Hey mom, what do you think about this and this and this? Yeah. Should I be doing this? Which is a good thing.
But I like in our marriage, it hasn't changed that. I mean, our marriage is first. Our relationship here is number one. It hasn't changed that. Yeah. I think there have been times where it's become a challenge where our kids have interfered with what should be going on here, and we've had to wait.
You have to remind them.
Yeah, they'll be going. They're going to have their own lives. They're going to be doing their own thing, and so we need to ensure that we're focused right here.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I know I've shared with you all that I have 4 kids. I put up eight fingers, but 4.
Yeah, I was like,
4 kids. I want to know which phase is the most challenging phase and why. Is it when they're babies, when they're toddlers, when they're kids, when they're teenagers or young adults? Please tell me, because
teenagers.
Why?
Do you have girls or boys or both?
I have both. I have 3 girls and 1 boy.
Yeah, so we have all boys, but I would say teenagers because they're really testing boundaries. They're really trying to figure out who they are, and we would always redirect our children, our boys, that it's more important to remember whose you are.
Yeah.
Right. Once you know that, you can do anything, right? So they would be walking out the door, and I would say, remember whose you are.
All the time.
Remember whose you are. Yeah. But I would say it was the teenage years because they're trying to figure out who they are.
I think obviously those middle school years are very difficult years, right?
For them.
Yeah. And then when they move into those high school years are like, okay, I'm going to test some boundaries. I'm going to really, who am I, and who are you? And for whatever reason, we're dummies throughout all these years. Parents are just like, they have no clue what's going on. And what's fun for us even right now is, we've got older boys, married older boys. And so this 16-year-old will do some crazy things and say some funny things that we think are really funny. And he'll call his brothers, and his brother will say, "You're such a dummy. You just do what you So I mean, so that's, but it is those teenage, but it's different. And like they say, little people, little problems, big people, big problems, right? So there's in each of those seasons, elementary, middle, high, young adult, and even the early years of marriage are very different seasons when we have a role to play, and some are more involved, and some are less. Like my wife said, it's like, okay, we'll be if we're here, we're available.
There's been many times where you kind of got to let them go through it and just let them know that we're here. Do you know what I mean? Go for it, but just in case, we're here. But you got to back up and let them live their life.
Yeah, and just like everything else, right? I think it's important to remember is that we're stewards. We got to release our kids, and God can do far better job than we could ever imagine. And so we just lift them up in prayer. We're like, we don't pray at them, we pray for them, right? And God can do incredible. His plan is just amazing what he has for our children. Yeah. And sometimes we're like, oh, I want him to do this, he should be thinking this way. And God says, no, he's unique. Yeah. He or she is unique. And I've created them for this particular purpose. And so we look at whatever gifts they have, and we look at ways that we can come alongside them and help them to grow and flourish.
Yeah. How did you guys get through those challenging teenage years?
Well, I don't know if we can say what we did on camera, but no.
Yes, tell us, because we want to know. Like,
look, Mark,
I've got 4. Tell me.
Discipline. Mark would come up.
It's just got to be creative.
He would come up. I'm gonna share one of the things that he did, because this was like, okay. So I think it was Kyle.
Whoa, you're not supposed to give out names.
I'm sorry. I'll just went through this stage of opening mail.
Let them come and he'd open them up.
He would just open mail. I don't know what it was, but he would just open the mail, and you just see it on the side, like, what? It says Meliza, or it says, why are you opening mail? So his dad told him, okay, if you open mail again, there's going to be a consequence. So what happens? He opens the mail. So he said, oh, you want to open the mail, huh? So I'm thinking, what is he going to do? In about an hour later, there's 3 envelopes on the side, and they all have my son's name on them. So he said, go ahead and open one of those envelopes. In the envelope is a consequence.
One is greater than the other.
One is greater than the other. You take your pick which one you want to open.
But you will open anyone you like.
Anyone you like. And he's like, they're looking because they know their dad. I don't want to open anymore. I won't do it again. I don't want to open it. So he picks one. No, you got to pick one. Open it, and he opens it. What was it? What was the consequence?
I think it was like when I was a kid.
Oh, he had to write. I will not open Mom and Dad's mail.
But he had to write it. There was like one was like, maybe 100. One was like 500, and one was 1,000. So it took him days. It took days
for him to
write it out. But
he never opened anyone's mail.
But it's different at different seasons. Hey. There's different.
I love it.
I'll give you another example, right? So that was.
I bet you he won't open any more mail that doesn't have his name on it.
Yeah. There's just been different things. I think the thing is also we have 3 boys. I held up 4 fingers. 3 boys. I got George. Four boys. Yeah. But I think it was very important for me to let my boys know that this is my wife first, and then your mom second. And so as they got into those teenage years, they would almost get like kind of sassy and disrespectful in some areas. And so there were moments that, that we had to kind of come face to face and have a conversation about, what that, who, who they are. And so, there's different ways to, and even to this day, I think we're able to have open dialogue, open conversation. They laugh. There are some things like they laugh and they remind me that I did as a young parent that I just don't remember doing. Like, so my middle son will say to his wife, he says, "Dad, you remember when you used to say," like, I used to get really aggravated and I'd say, "Fix it."
Yeah.
Fix it.
Yeah.
Fix it now.
Yeah.
And so that in his head, whenever he's like, it's coming. It's coming,
Fix it.
Fix it. So I don't know. You got to be creative. All your kids are very, very different. And so you got to find different ways to motivate, right?
Yeah.
And to really help steer them in the direction that God wants them to go.
And just set boundaries.
Oh, yeah, good boundaries.
Each of them, the boundaries are different, right? Because the kids are different. So what works for one might not work for the other.
But set boundaries.
Yeah.
For sure. There's nothing worse than not setting a boundary for kids. Because, you wouldn't let your kid run across the street,
right.
So there's consequence to that. So there's always, we've always tried to maintain some type of boundaries with our kids.
Mm-hmm.
Far from perfect parents, but,
Yeah. We did our best.
Yeah, that's
Thank you
parents,
so much
that's what
for
parents
all
say.
Wonderful words of wisdom. I'm going to be talking to Ryan about some creative forms of discipline that we may need to incorporate when they become teenagers. So great. Thank you for giving me some great ideas. So thank you so much. What do you think? What have you guys enjoyed most about marriage in your 28 years of being married to each other?
What we enjoyed the most?
What did you say last night? You said that we're friends, right?
Yeah.
We're friends. We laugh a lot at
at each other and together.
We laugh, together. We're pretty open. We're very. I think sometimes in marriage you can imply things, do things that imply that you want something. We've learned to ask exactly for what we want. And when we want. Yeah, right?
Yeah. I think that one of the things that we ask each other on a fairly regular basis is, what do you need? And is there anything, give me a couple things that I can do for you in this season that's going to be helpful, either it's for our relationship or for you specifically. Yeah. So we check in, maybe every other month, or when you see the need, right? And say, just stop for a minute. What do you need? Is there anything that I can be doing for you as your wife that could help you? And
likewise, I think every seasons are different, right? And during those check-ins, my wife, I remember saying, "Hey, maybe just touch me more." As we walk, as we kind of hang out together, touch is something that's important. Words of affirmation is more frequently, and we kind of just. I think sometimes we assume things are going well, and the undertone, there could be something really going on in your heart that's really, and it only manifests when you're hot. And so those frequent check-ins are like, "Hey, you good? You good? Yeah, I'm good. I'm good." You know what? Or maybe there's some areas that we can kind of better refine. There's always some refining that could be done, right? God, it's incredible that God will put us together, two totally different people put us together, right, to do something that we could never do apart. But in that, there's always going to be some refining. There's always going to be some like, hey, there's God doing something in me. There's God doing something in her to make us better, to represent Him better, right?
Another thing that I want to add quickly is that in our premarital and marital communication with couples, it's good for us too, because we're reminding ourselves. You teach something and be pouring something into someone else and not walking it out. We're constantly reminded of, you know, who we are and who we are, right? Because we're walking it out with couples regularly. And so I think that helps, that we get to pour into other couples. It helps us sharpen our tools with one another.
Yeah, and you know, that's good. Just like you said, like you took this test and it was really, really difficult.
And you put a lot of time and energy,
a lot of time and effort into it. Sometimes I think I wonder to myself the amount of time and effort some people put into that day.
And us,
right? That day, that needs to continue. It's a continuous process, right? It's a continuous. And so, like, you know, people put effort work into credentialing, effort work into, you know, making something happen, effort work into their children. Well, this here is effort and work. And it really, again, when people look at your marriage, when people look at our marriage, they say, is that something that I want? Right? And again, if you take it up a level, it's supposed to reflect God's love for his church, right?
Yeah.
Man.
So when I look at each one of you, do I see a crown? Are you his crown? You know, I should see that. I should see that radiance. We should see, hey, that the wife is being edified, is being uplifted, being encouraged, you know, equipped, you know, and often there's times you see the wife, the spouse, you're like, hey, I don't know if the husband is doing the basics, right? Maybe they're just existing.
And we can't just put the pressure on the husband.
But I'm speaking from that. You can speak.
Yes, yes. That we're supposed to be lifting them up as well, right? So it works both ways.
Yeah.
Always works both ways.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you for saying that, because it definitely works both ways.
Yeah.
Before we move into our legacy game, I just want to know if you could say some words of wisdom to your younger self, what would you say to your younger self? Because, you know, I feel like for me, I have changed and developed just in the 10 years that me and my husband have been married. Like, you grow and you learn. So what would you say to your younger self?
You want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I would say to my younger self that Meliza, my wife, cannot meet all my needs. Right? And when I put that on her, I put her in a position to fail. God can meet all my needs. So there are some things that I go through in life that I say, and I'm upfront with my wife. I say, hey, hon, I'm just going to share this with you, but God's really got to do this in me. And I think there are times that we put this unreasonable expectations on our spouse, and we put things on them that they were never intended to carry that weight. Only God can carry that weight.
Amen.
So that would be something I would tell the young Mark.
And I think for me, it would be to always believe Mark's best intentions, to believe the best in him. And I think in the past and the little bit that I shared about growing up and seeing broken marriages and cheating, and, you know, that's something that you see year in and year out as a child, as a young adult, and then you come into this relationship, you know, there's some residue of that. So I think in my early years, that was a struggle. And so even to this day, I always try and believe the best. Even when you're mad, I can't believe he did this. And then I bring myself back that I need to believe he had my best intentions, right? So I think that's what I would have told myself way back, to believe the best in him.
Marriage is bigger than either one of us. It's bigger. It just is, right? There's so many. Even if you have no children, there are children that look into you again and say, "Oh, do I want?" They will gravitate towards that, or they'll reject it. And we want them to gravitate to that's what we want. That's what we want in our life. Yeah.
Man. All right. So time for a little fun. We have a little game.
Sure.
Maya, do you want to tell them about the legacy game that we're going to play?
Can y'all hear me? I know.
Yes.
It's crazy. Before I have a quick question though. Any tools or resources, anything you would recommend for couples in any stage of marriage, whether it's, dating, engaged, newlyweds, children, any tools or resources, books, podcasts, websites, anything?
I would say for any couples that are seriously dating and thinking of marriage, there are so many assessment tools out there, like, let's say, Prepare and Enrich. Let's say Marriage Dynamics for married couples. The assessments are incredible. It gives you a baseline of who you are, where you came from, each of you as individuals.
In the context of a relationship,
right? In the context of this relationship. And it was so helpful for us, and it's so helpful for all the couples that we mentor. And so just knowing who you are, your tendencies, and giving you a path of how to move forward so any kind of assessment that you can do is great.
Okay. So that is good, and that's great. That's good, great. Yeah,
I'll take it.
You'll take it? That's awesome. But I think, and it's all accurate, but I think you got to start with the book, the word that will tell you what marriage is supposed to look like, right? And there are many verses, even in Ephesians, later on down in Ephesians. I wouldn't start with what submitting to husband, but I think further down it talks about this husband, what it should really look like, right? And in context to what God says marriage is, right? Even Song of Solomon, it's a great book, right? So then I would start there myself. But then, there's, we're reading a book by Gary Thomas right now. It's called A Lifelong Love, which is a great book. There's old books, His Needs, Her Needs, which is, again, old school.
Yeah.
But there are things that are generationally, it's the same.
The word is the word is the word.
Yeah.
And I do want to say as well that those assessments that I refer to when my husband took it to the book, they are biblically. They are. You can get the biblical version, and so that's what we use. So that it is in the biblical context. Yeah. But I just wanted to, because he was like.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah. She wasn't trying to call you out, Meliza. We got you.
Thank you.
I love it. All right, you all. Let's get into our legacy games. So here are the rules. You have to have your eyes closed. We will ask you a series of 10 questions. And after each question, you are to point to either yourself or your spouse regarding what you think the answer is to that question. And we'll let you know after each question whether or not you're in agreement or there's a bit of disagreement there, some different perspectives. All right.
So we keep our eyes closed for the duration of the 10 questions.
Yes.
Well, you can open your eyes after we reveal you all's answers, and you can open your eyes.
All right.
If you want.
Okay.
Hey, this isn't causing any problems right now because we got stuff to do today.
No.
We're gonna hang out for the remainder of the day.
We're not trying to cause any problems.
Drama
in a happy home. No. The questions are not that.
We trust you.
Yeah.
Trust us. All right, close your eyes. All right, so the first question. Who apologizes first? Oh,
I love that.
You can open your eyes. You all pointed at each other.
That's beautiful.
That's very beautiful.
Okay.
Next.
All right, close your eyes. Question number 2. Who's most likely to yell in traffic?
Oh, wow. You can open your eyes. You both pointed at yourselves. That's hilarious.
I mean, we don't really yell at traffic. I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
I love it.
All right, here's the next one. Close your eyes. Who spoils the grandchildren the most? Open your eyes. Meliza.
Stupid. I love it.
Yeah, he needs that. He needs that.
Of course.
Yeah.
All right, next question. Close your eyes. Who's the biggest spender?
Okay.
I mean, I don't know what the ground
Both of you guys.
I don't spend.
The larger ticket items.
No, I think I'm going to qualify this.
The bigger ticket items are you.
For both of us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. My wife is like, hey, oh no.
He's the bigger ticket items.
Yeah. My wife's like, I bought 10 of these things that equate to one with your thing. I'm like, that's not. Yeah, she justifies a big anyway.
Okay.
All right.
Next question.
Close your eyes. Okay, who gives the best gifts? Okay, all right. Okay, go ahead, Mark. I love it.
He does.
Yay.
He really does.
I love it. I love it. All right, next question. Close your eyes. Who's the most organized?
Ooh, okay. You can open your eyes, Mark. That's wonderful. You guys got that one.
Yeah.
Okay, close your eyes. Who helps around the house the most? All right. You can open your eyes. Meliza.
You don't have to qualify.
Did I not help last night?
See,
I do a lot.
He can tell you the actual dates.
I can tell you I do an awful lot of work around here. It's like a second job.
Okay.
Perspective is everything.
All right.
Okay.
I love it. Okay, next question. Close your eyes. Who's the practical joker?
Oh, jeez.
Open your eyes.
All right. So, Meliza.
No, we ain't got time for that.
She said we ain't got time for it, but I have to tell you, right? So there was a time that my wife was not at work. She was at home with my youngest son. And my middle son, Aaron, was at home as well. So I was working from home for some period of time. And my wife and Aaron were playing around outside. So then they got this huge, remember those big heads, the cardboard cutouts, huge heads?
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So my wife went outside. My office looked out to the street. So my wife went outside the house with this big head and popped it up in front of my window. And I jumped back. Right? So then my middle son said, and he tells the story all the time. Aaron says, that's the time that not long after that, my mom had to go back to work.
Yeah, I was having too much fun at home.
Yeah, I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah.
I love it. All right.
Okay, close your eyes. Who eats the most junk food? All right, open your eyes. Meliza eats the most junk food.
I eat what I want. I'm like, okay.
Okay, this is our last one.
Okay.
Close your eyes. Who's the biggest risk taker? All right.
Okay. Meliza again. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for participating in the legacy game. You guys are spot on for like all of them. It's awesome.
I suppose I know you.
You know me? Well, that's good. It's a good thing you know me.
Yeah.
I know you too.
So our Black Dress Challenge this week is to spend time or have a conversation with a couple that you admire, so that you can gain wisdom from a couple. Okay.
Yeah.
And that is our Black Dress Challenge for this week.
Yes.
Next,
we want you to be
next
wise.
month. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say we want you to be wise when you're wearing that black dress, ladies. All right. So yes, go ahead. Next month.
Next month, we are focusing on women's history. It's Women's History Month. So we will be spotlighting on different women for the whole month of March. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Becoming Eva Today.
Thank y'all